failing to be a provider bites. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. Stay-at-home dads can't survive. Hank Williams Jr. lives. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. Stay-at-home dads can't survive unless they find a way to cope with not bringing home the bacon of any kind for the time being. Veggie bacon from Trader Joe's, not counting for jack shit. Domestic dad bombing. Who cares if it's the best piece you never had? Holla! Domestic dad bombing. Thank you very much. Some dads will ask me, so what do you do? I say, dishes, but I make focaccia bread too. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. How do I cope with being treated like a sheltered bum 8 days a week? Through endless, punchy jokes in my attempt to fight back for mainstream respectability in this world. Holla! Not that I give a shit about the mainstream these days, but you get the gist. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. I wasn't always a stay-at-home dad. Still, reality is I'm used to working for almost nothing as either a non-union TV writer, as the head writer for America's Hot 100 on VH1 Classic, or as a waiter at a Cajun restaurant in Park Slope back in the day, which was, and still, like Stroller Mom Central. We're all the over-the-hill hipsters that never had too much of a prime to boast of, go to prematurely retire their sex lives and die, and completely eradicate the surging birth rate in New York because all these overweight hipster hobbits are being forced to pull out prematurely from excessive meat sweats. And Lena Dunham's frumpy arm flapper look on Instagram that's encouraged ad nauseum isn't helping. Holla! Domestic dad bombing again. Thank you very much. So I'm used to working for almost nothing as a non-union TV writer for America's Hot 100 on VH1 Classic, hosted by WWE great Chris Jericho, who's also the lead singer of the heavy metal band Fozzy. During the shoot, I learned that Chris Jericho's father was a professional hockey player. So I say, okay, so that's why you're Chris Jericho, and that's why I'm a knock-kneed, putsy Jew, another knock-kneed, putsy, too-tall Jew at 6 feet 4 inches, who couldn't dunk a basketball if his life depended on it, whose highlight of his basketball career in high school was scoring a whopping 10 points against an all-Japanese team. Thank you very much. So I'm used to working as a non-union, non-WGA, that being Writers Guild of America, represented writer, or as a glamorized, indentured, parasitical IT agency recruiter for Robert Half in Manhattan, fielding phone calls from guys who respond to job ads on Dice who say, I'm calling for the job on Dice.com. I'll say, are you an H-1B? And I'll say, yes. And then I'll say, you know what? This phone connection is getting really staticky. Click. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. So I'm used to working for almost nothing and for being treated with complete disrespectful disdain. I've already got 2 kids at this point. I got my TV writing break, and then I wrote another special for VH1 for Music Independence Day, a summer-themed music countdown jam hosted by Kevin Hart, the actual concert performance portion. He looks good in a USA throwback tank top. Despite it reaching his toes. I mean, for a pajama party, I guess it would work. But this doesn't make me a Kevin Hart hater. Just a short on laughs spectator like the rest. Domestic dead bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. But the actual host of the Countdown special was some hick VJ from Pittsburgh who decided to go off script and do all of his own material, which was brutal because I waked and baked for the occasion, which any sort of aspirational doodle dad doesn't do ever, but it's not every time in life where you think you're going to see all of your awesome lines on TV again. But Gwen Stefani, Orange County's finest, holla! And you tell all your friends about it, and you know immediately that he's not sticking to the script, and it literally felt like I was being stabbed in my soul by some crazy lunatic leftist scumbag deplorable at the Atlantic every time I bang out another comedy record, such as Burning Man's Party record. The moment I press post and they turn the sword of censorship suppression, prohibiting it from being heard by anybody. So I feel like the crazy man because in the end I'm just doing it to hear my own voice and have no one to really entertain in the end. Holla! Domestic dad bombing. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I've written for TV twice at this point. I've been an IT headhunter forever. I go back to work for Robert Half thinking I wouldn't have to be a cold calling monkey anymore. And how does my father-in-law, Mr. Generosity, Mr. Christian, who's cool with the COVID vaccine rules preventing him to actually fly to freaking England to visit his mother, who passed away. And, meanwhile, he had a decade to make sure that his Jewish tainted offspring had the opportunity to meet her, which he fucked up royally. And then I have to learn how he's never been to confession, but according to my wife, I'm the one. That's the narcissist with full-blown self-absorption problems, who never feels that there's any need for any point for self-correction. For example, supporting Mr. Groper in the White House that wants to decry all parents that are against their kids wearing masks. Yeah, so the same dad, the father-in-law. How does he decide to help out his son-in-law? That he gives off the impression that he gives 2 shits about helping? What does he do? Because he's worked as an SAP consultant his entire life. They make 200 plus. He refers me to an H-1B candidate. And in the end, I would have had an easier time penning a Bollywood musical and selling it to Hollywood than excluding China distribution altogether than I would making a placement fee on this guy. Domestic dad bombing hard, long time, all the time. Holla! For having no filter whatsoever and not giving a shit anymore. Because at this point, it's beyond personal. Holla! Thank you very much! So, back to what I was saying. So, reality is, I'm used to working for almost nothing. As either a non-union TV writer, a waiter, or as an IT recruiter. So, being looked down upon as an indentured servant, deplorable, dependent, bitchy underling that deserves nothing but derisive to scorn forever, because, God forbid, I defend our ex-president who worked for free. who actually cared about securing our borders and actually defending our ICE agents, because Homeland Security was so weapons of mass destruction. Years. Jon Stewart, Bill Maher, sucking a long time. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. Meanwhile, my wife works as a nurse for newborns. She works in the NICU. And she's responsible for checking vital signs on blue-faced babies, which on occasion in the past could make me feel like the self-absorbed narcissist in comparison, when I was so allowed on Twitter and only checked for retweets. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Way before Twitter kicked me off because I dared to insinuate that China has resisted Wuhan lab investigations more than Aquafresh. Holla! Domestic dad bombing, and fuck China. A long time, all the time. Chinese-made fentanyl shipped over our border has killed more crackers in this country than Taylor Swift kicking it with Lena Dunham on Instagram. Domestic dad bombing in the zone of all zones. Holla! The best is yet to come. Sinatra lives. Booyah tribe! All in your face. Thank you very much. The state motto of Oklahoma is labor conquers all. Pothead, slacker, blah brain, never had a peak, never got anyone excited about your presence, freaking groupthink controlled, unhuggable, cunt, liberal, piece of shit in Burlington, Vermont, your overrated coffee and your overpriced beer. You, I'm talking to you. Labor conquers all. Now you retweeting some bullshit by fucking Joe Biden. Okay! Domestic dad bombing. Oh, and by the way, Vermont, you're so great. Bernie Sanders is so great. They should change the state motto from the green state to Vermont to CBD oil only. Okay? Bernie Sanders couldn't even make Vermont great for potheads on vacation. Okay! Dennis Leary strikes again. Thank you very much. State motto of Oklahoma. I'll take any patriot from Oklahoma. I'll have a beer with that guy, a Budweiser. I don't give a fuck over any pretentious, super clean liberal that wants to associate themselves with what's become a Democratic Party today. That obviously is completely in bed with the Rape Enablement Party and completely in bed with completely shitting on the Constitution, individual rights, liberty, and for making our kids look like they're dressed up every day for Sharia Law Appreciation Day. Domestic, and for any piece of shit that equates Israel with Hamas or accuses them of cultural genocide. Hey, newsflash, asshole. When you fire 5,000 rockets into Israel's backyard, don't expect an edible arrangement, gift basket in return with the thank you note written in Farsi. Well, tossing all the hardened pineapple tips into the Red Sea. Okay! Dennis Leary lives again. You only hope to contain him. Holla! Domestic dad bombing. Rescue this. Holla! Thank you very much. And I never got the fascination with radical jihadists being so into deflowering virgins in the Muslim gangster paradise, allegedly. I mean, doesn't Jihadi John have enough blood on his hands already? Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Suck on it, Jihadi John. A long time, all the time. Thank you very much. And also, enough with ISIS are good recruiters. All they do is target other lonely virgins on Facebook and on WhatsApp who wish their phones blow up. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. The state motto of Oklahoma is labor conquers all. This is true. If labor involved produce, that includes pesticide-free fruit you can buy at Whole Foods, My daughter said, Dada, tell Alexa to add avocados to your shopping list. I replied, you do know avocados don't grow on trees back east. My daughter says, then start bringing home some bacon already, Dada. And I'm not talking about the veggie bacon either. I don't care if it was the best piece I never had according to your advertising portfolio for Morningstar veggie products that never got off the ground or secured you any sort of sustainable employment along Madison Avenue either. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! And I don't really care that you penned the advertising campaign for Sierra Nevada, the pale ale that never gets stale. Holla! All I know is that all those beers that you're rocking up in the recycling bin that you don't even recycle anymore since the day democracy died as your own form of FU protest to what difference does it make? That's not helping us save any of that bacon money for my college fund either. Holla! Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. And Daddy, I mean, I like that joke where he's like, so I give up drinking beer last summer because it got humiliating, spending so much time hungover, recycling, endless, empty reminders of my excessive, nonstop, poundable lushiness as entire Rocky marathons at AMC passed me by. Domestic dad bombing. And then the joke is cute, Daddy, when you say, what's it like being a stay-at-home dad? Well, drinking alone is no longer an issue. Domestic dad bombing. Rebel without a pause, running on shtick, far from empty. The innocuous insurrectionist. Holla! Thank you very much. Trump. Dun dun dun. So he never changed his kids' diapers. I only wish I can make that claim with a straight face. It would actually mean I had my shit together for a change, thereby preventing my mother from ever suggesting I become a garbage man for a living to pick up other people's shit for a living. Because I'm already doing it, so might as well get paid a hefty, comfortable, six-figure salary for a change and capitalize upon my on-the-job experience already. Domestic dad bombing, which would be a more palatable arrangement for my parents to share with their friends in Scottsdale, Arizona, instead of them biting their tongue. Bombing. Thank you very much. I used to wreck my Everlast punching bag to holes, Miss World, before busting the chains more than twice from such rage-filled, rocket-propelled upward motion, screaming with unmatched she-male rocker rage. I've made my bed, I'll die in it. Courtney Love lives. Holla! Domestic mom bombing. Their daughter, I forget her name. It's like named after some fucking flower. Couldn't read till she was like 10. Everyone called her like a crackhead. Holla! Domestic mom bombing. Thank you very much. Courtney Love is still, in my eyes, a super charismatic badass, regardless if she's an accessory to murder or not. Holla! For busting balls a long time. Domestic dad bombing. And in related news, Kurt Cobain did not kill off hair metal. AIDS did. Before magic made HIV disappear. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! And did anyone see the Foo Fighters playing at Madison Square Garden, which was the first official show there post-pandemic? Anyone catch Dave Grohl there? And if you did, I'm assuming you're vaccinated, and that's fine. You're allowed that choice. But at the same time, I'm thinking anyone that attended that show would be someone that is solid proof of exhibiting 0.0 taste throughout the remainder of their ever-long, edgeless lives. Domestic dad bombing and dumping on the Foo Fighters a long time in the process. But Dave Grohl's a good guy. He's an accessory to murder. If Kurt Cobain killed himself at the height of his career after being a proud professed dad, then Woody Allen still stands a shot at winning Father of the Year. And Anthony Bourdain actually killed himself. When in the end, if you saw pictures of Bourdain next to punk legend Iggy Pop, they're both topless. At this point, Bourdain's doing jiu-jitsu, okay? You look at the picture, Iggy Pop, not Bourdain, looks like the druggy, lost, bloated, depressed one. Domestic dad bombing. Bourdain lives forevermore. Holla! Thank you very much. Courtney Love, again, in my eyes, is a super charismatic badass. She's Mia Farrow with better husband selection. Domestic dad bombing. Long time, all the time. Holla! Thank you very much. Did you know that Woody Allen was caught keeping a secret stash of naked Polaroid pics in his top sock drawer that he would keep for safekeeping? The top for future script ideas. This was all shown in that documentary on HBO. What was it called again? Crimes and Misdemeanors. The early years, domestic dad bombing. But the only picture that was missing from that collection, from his personal stash, was a naked picture of a 9-year-old Sun-Yi crying on the cover of Time Life magazine. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. Although my first moral parenting stance was insisting that my daughter only watch Woody Allen films that came out pre-Sun-Yi. At the same time, just to make sure that my curated pedophile entertainer stance was more clear-cut, I insisted that my daughter only listen to Michael Jackson songs that came out pre-Jackson 5, because then my curated pedophile entertainer exposure stance was that much more black and white. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. And if Michael Jackson were alive today, how would he defend himself against his Neverland accusers? Again, Monique. What would he say? All the Beatles royalty points in the world can't buy me love. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. So Courtney Love, it's Mia Farrow, better husband selection. But behind every good man is a better woman. All right, not so much in Kurt Cobain's case. Domestic dad bombing. That is until he blew his brains out knowing Courtney was going to be mothering his only child during her prime smack years. Apparently everyone called her daughter a crack baby because she still couldn't read at 9. How much fun was Courtney Love having without ever reading Allen Ginsberg's Howl to scare her daughter to sleep at night? Which details the ravaging of the beautiful brains of all the beautiful angelic light spewing from the starving hippies reduced to eating stray cats at the streets of San Francisco. Domestic dad bombing. Janice lives. Holla! Thank you very much. I don't know anything about Eddie Vedder's wife, aside from her being smoking hot, so hot, want to touch the hiney. Sandler lives. Although I think it's safe to say that Eddie Vedder didn't meet her at a Seattle coffee shop. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! And just to be clear, I am a member of Generation X, explaining the heavy Courtney Love, Kurt Cobain material. And due to the fact that I still contend with nagging concerns of catching AIDS if I were to cheat on my wife or completely destroy my children's home life altogether and start my life anew, experience a new lease on life. But that pubescent concern has never changed. So as a result of having that concern, I don't care that magic made HIV disappear. I don't care that there's all these Hulu commercials these days that my kids have to watch where I have to explain freaking AIDS to my kids. Daddy, well, what's this pill for HIV? I go, Matilda, a reason for you to become a lesbian. Because you could take a licking and keep on ticking. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. So yeah, so growing up during AIDS, having that concern, never leave your system altogether. And then, of course, having the kids, go to school with the mask on, looking like Michael Jackson's Kids on Holiday, in Bahrain and having the academia and the media and your arrogant baby boomer parents and in-laws treating freaking a rebranded common cold as the second worst thing compared to back end entry into the Dallas Buyers Club. Domestic dad bombing. So you incorporate the masks, the faulty vaccines, growing up with AIDS, that not going anywhere soon. Fauci fucking over that oversight also, aka Dr. Noki. And then you got the two recessions, this being number 3. Blatant election fraud. As a result, members of Generation X, like our comedy, like our coffee, dark and bitter. Can I get a holla for the greatest generation, for defending your honor, for speaking the truth against corrupt piece of shit power that the mighty Hashem has to be so fucking pissed off I can't even begin to comprehend his rage. And why am I against watching professional sports these days when everyone's taking a knee? Because every time someone takes a knee, it's the equivalent of kicking Nazi destroyers in the nuts again and again. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! And the swastika is a dumb symbol. I don't care that it was a hijacked Photoshop Hindu symbol, okay? The swastika looks like 2 stick figures doing a 69 on a seesaw on a boatload of crystal meth because they're a bunch of crazy, evil Nazi bastards. Holla! Thank you very much. Def Leppard was finally inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. For Def Leppard, I've waited this long to be inducted, lumped in with the freaking Cure, bites long time. Like being forced to show sustained stiffage in a steam room with Meghan McCain, if you're the husband and if your trust fund banked on whether you could make it grow an inch in her presence ever again. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Anyone see that new Salesforce tower? Like the corporate tower in Midtown Manhattan? It's completely tainted the skyline. I haven't seen such a hulking, gross, puke-tastic monstrosity since I saw Meghan McCain fly down Broadway for the Thanksgiving Day parade as the new plus-size Gumby. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. But again, learning that Def Leppard had to wait that long to be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or being lumped in with the freaking Cure, is like learning Elvira slept with Kurt Loder during his moody goth phase in college before you did. Jokes, Gen X dads understand. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. Past 5 years, my mom says, don't you miss adult interaction? And I say, Mom, I've got the Do It All Dad Here podcast and my companion, Do It All Dad Here blog, and I got SoundCloud to keep me comfy and warm and to keep my comedic ambitions of worldwide domination afloat. So according to my SoundCloud stats, I'm huge in Lahore, Pakistan. The Hollywood of Pakistan. $5.9 billion GDP, and they got nukes. Hey, Do It All Dad does Pakistan. Let's make it fucking happen already. SoundCloud, can we go viral already? Holla! Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. Stay-at-home dads. I don't care if they're self-proclaimed stay-at-home comedians, gifted with the funny Jew bone or not. Like yours truly, domestic dad bombing. Nonetheless, stay-at-home dads are treated like welfare moms. For example, my dad's more old school. He prefers the term sheltered bum. But until I start bringing home some actual moolah bacon, not fake news bacon, I don't blame him for the prognosis. Because I'm still so broke, my Hebrew name is under judicial review. Even if I were to go to LA right now in the hopes of getting an agent or a record deal, a record holding deal with Geffen Records, with my 44 records in hand, I still couldn't stare at an actress with a mask on Melrose without being fined for insufficient funds, domestic, dead, bombing, long time, holla. Thank you very much. But about a year ago or two, who's keeping track at this point? Your stay-at-home dad, the years just go by. Thank God I have my podcast stats to keep me aware of what I had accomplished for no profitable gain whatsoever. I no longer felt so learning impaired compared to my untimed SAT pass, where by the time I was done with my SAT, my friends at Washington University had already declared their majors sophomore year in college. Domestic, dead, bombing. Remember growing up, you always have those like bumper stickers, like, you know, my son's going to so-and-so school. My parents had one of those bumper stickers, and it says, my son still sucks at standardized tests. Domestic, teen, bombing. But again, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years, I learned that the Goodman Project was going to be publishing a grand total of like 15 blogs of mine, such as wishing my son's birthday never blows. Bam! Effortless love trumps all. Bam! The last self-loving Jewish New Yorker. Bam! Boom shakalaka! Thank you very much. Comedy control rules. Dush! Thank you very much. So I remember having a conversation with my kids soon after saying, you know, hard work does pay off, kids. Your aspirational doodle dad is living proof of it. Couldn't have done it without the best home team imaginable and mama's begrudging support. Behind this do-it-all dad comedian is my growing kids army, who make this do-it-all dad feel more blessed than the rest, despite having mommy receive this good news about the Goodman Project, publishing my essays on involved fatherhood and making the most of our stage time with our kids, while also promoting the mantra for my podcast, controlling our kids' economy can make our kids great again. My 3 fuss-free kids, 98% of the time, are living proof of it. Only for mommy, who showed no interest in the articles, only for mommy to say, are they paying you anything for it? I said, babe, the Goodman Project is paying me less than what your parents have ever given us as we're giving them 3 grandchildren. So nothing. Domestic. Dad. Bombing. Holla. Thank you very much. From upper middle to lower, deplorable. Domestic. Dad. Bombing any remnant of goodwill into the ground to fucking smithereens in the form of 100 million pieces, 100 million branded racists who didn't vote for fucking Mr. Groper Sniff from the White House right now. Holla! Thank you very much. My dream HR interview. What have you done in 4 years besides make sure that your 3 kids don't die? I got my doctorate in pharmacology. HR replies, from what school? The University of Phoenix. My thesis proved unequivocally that Adderall gives you an artificial feeling of real-life profitable accomplishment, like getting a printed-off degree from the University of Phoenix. Domestic, dad, bombing, from too much tweaking. Thank you very much. Reality is, as hard as a statement is to make, I have existed largely outside of God hooking me up long time all the time. I exist largely thanks to the begrudging generosity of others because my punchlines haven't paid any profitable mucho dinero fucking peso dividends yet. Stay-at-home comedian dads like myself are sheltered bums until we're able to capitalize off our well-developed, extremely well-received comedy genius already, so we can start giving back with generous, unjaded hearts to those who stuck with us, begrudgingly or not, but not being so generous when those people have just really shit on your desire to go into business on your own from the very beginning. Holla! Who will get off on making you feel small, who have a hard time with your Doodle Dad star. Rising, rising! Jim Morrison lives. Holla! Doodle Dad bombing, despite naming his first son Arthur Morrison Kornbluth, which is a mini miracle, because I created a flow to Kornbluth. Easier said than done. I contemplated naming my son Arthur Brooks Kornbluth in honor of the great comedian Albert Brooks, great filmmaker. However, I changed my mind because I didn't want to give my son the permission to be another hysterical, self-hating Jewish pussy. Holla! Boom shakalaka! Sly Stone lives. Thank you very much. So once I was in the main reading room at the New York Public Library working on a blog, Anthony Bourdain rips my frozen lunch apart. Pretty sure I've been fired again at this point, because I recall thinking to myself, there's nothing else better to do. Domesticated, pre-married, 30-year-old bombing at life. Holla! Thank you very much! Back then I was living in Astoria, Queens. Side note, stop saying Queens is hot. We place hipsters that can't fucking afford Brooklyn anymore. Queens is not hot. Comparing Queens to Manhattan and Brooklyn is ridiculous, okay? Queens compared to Manhattan and Brooklyn is the sloppy third Kardashian sister. You know, OJ's daughter, the extra greasy one, who's easy to pound at 3 in the morning like a lamb gyro in Astoria. Domestic, Gangstar Paradise Coalition yell out, yo, blacks versus whites. My asshole immediately tenses on the spot, and I lean over to my brother and say, bro, this basketball court just turned into a prison yard scene real fast. I think we better start looking around for some neo-Nazis to protect us. We don't watch every single episode of Oz for nothing. The fact that we don't have overtly Jewy schnozzes is working in our favor for a change. Suburban white boys failing the manhood test. Holla! Against the Coolio Gangstar Coalition. Holla! Thank you very much. So yeah, so I'm in Queens in Astoria. And it's impossible to feel cool living in Queens. Even if you have a decked out rooftop overlooking the solid Manhattan skyline. Because still, it taunts your broke ass from afar like an immovable feast far out of reach from attainable, palatable, your reality, living up like a big pimping star reality. Holla! Ernest Hemingway lives. Thank you very much. Plenty of my role models hail from Queens, like Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, before they became hysterical about the COVID shit. Oh, get the vaccine. Oh, I got the COVID. Oh, yeah, but it still works. Holla! Domestic dad bombing for insisting that the COVID vaccines work less than Carmelo Anthony running the triangle offense because he should be the next spokesperson for Tampax tampons at this stage in his career. Because name another player throughout the history of the NBA that's been responsible for stopping so much flowage. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much. Yeah, you got Doug Allen from Entourage, the bald guy from Anthrax. So where you come from plays a huge influence on your desire to rise above your ho-hum surroundings, especially when you grow up in Queens. At some point, all the names mentioned above decided mediocre wasn't enough. All these men decided they wanted to be big time, and they worked their asses off to get there. Groucho Marx, who raised his family in Riverdale in the Bronx, once said, when you do comedy, you have to feel you're better than the people you're making laugh for a living. I'm paraphrasing Groucho here, but my takeaway here has always been that if you don't believe in your own brand of specialness, nobody else will. Especially if they're baby boomer parents that actually think Colbert's still funny, because baby boomer arrogance never dies. Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much! And right now, I would describe our State of the Union to Stephen Colbert's handle on funny these days. Shaky! It's too bad Bill O'Reilly is no longer important enough to impersonate. At least Bill O'Reilly gave Colbert gravitas before he became unmasked as a completely creepy John Podesta, freaking head-lugging, howdy-doody pedophile apologist. Holla! Domestic dad bombing. You don't believe me about John Podesta? Google artwork at John Podesta's house, all right? John Podesta, same John Podesta's got like freaking 500 million from like China for some nefarious reason that has to, oh, that's right, because he's all of a sudden a lobbyist for Huawei, which is going to allow those Chinese commie cocksuckers to spy on us to our last, dying breasts while wearing masks taped to our fucking head. So congratulations for voting for that piece of shit reality. Holla! Domestic dad bomb. Yes, you don't believe me about John Podesta, him being a fucking pedophile and able to scumbag at lowest order? Google John Podesta artwork, okay? Got enough pedo insulation artwork on those walls to make Marilyn Manson blush. Domestic dad bombing the fucking Comedy Grand House to the ground today. Ha! Deep State, come and get me. Thank you very much. Domestic dad pushing his fucking luck, showing the ultimate faith in Hashem, protecting him to deliver punchline troop bombs for another day. Holla! Domestic dad bombing. Holla! Burning more bridges than fucking Godzilla. Holla! Thank you very much. So, if you don't believe in your own brand of specialness, nobody else will. So, on the bright side, I ended up repurposing the Anthony Bourdain Rips My Frozen Lunch Apart piece, and it got published in a magazine called Fire and Knives, which won Best New Food Magazine in England. Before Open Borders became mainstream, which is the day they bent over and allowed Sharia law to win. But, and just for the record, okay? Listen, I'm a New Yorker. New Yorkers pride themselves in their ability to get along with every race and creed. A real New Yorker loves taking taxi drives, not for the smell, but to bond with like Africans from fucking Ghana and just talk to them about their lives. It's a beautiful thing. You come here with nothing, you can have a fucking cab or an Uber, you can support a family. That's a beautiful thing. It's not so beautiful when all of a sudden, bail is eliminated and your city becomes a sanctuary city, which is encourage lawlessness on crack. It's not okay when you got to read about, some crazy guy trying to strangle to death some 11-year-old in St. Park's Place, and then having the guy get off on $7,500 bail. That's not okay. But the point being is this, is that all this, every New Yorker, I'm just disgusted with my fellow New Yorkers because for not calling out the bullshit, okay? Because all this like drummed up racial invective, it's all coordinated, and it's just been designed to separate us, okay? And united we laugh. I prove it every day. And placing the haves against the have-nots, and forcing people out of jobs because they don't want to get a vaccine. That's faulty. You go to the VAERS website, people are dying, people are getting enlarged hearts, and it's only going to get worse. And last time I checked, we're America because we're able to express ourselves, not the fear of the FBI knocking down our door, arresting us, keeping us in fucking jail because we decide to silently protest an election that the majority of Americans didn't feel was kosher, and even in Bill Maher's eyes, despite him never actually admitting it's domestic dad bombing. Holla! Thank you very much! So, I love making my FedEx guy, who's a brother man, I love making him laugh with a good old Snoop Dogg joke, such as, have you tried Snoop Dogg's new Merlot wine? According to Wine Advocate, it tastes like mouthwash used in porn hood hell. Holla! Or, I'll be at a local school dance, and there's a brother man there. I'm a New Yorker, so I call him a brother man. When you get a callback audition for Paul Mooney, Richard Pryor's best friend, who's his only joke writer, and when Richard Pryor's voted the best comedian of all time, and when that guy, being Paul Mooney, the Black Zappa, says, I hear you're funny, you could have the privilege to call your fellow black man brother man too. So I'm at this dance for my daughter, and I'm doing Nick material, and I say, yeah, so KP, you don't believe KP raped his neighbor, right? I mean, the day he tore his ACL, right? Because for starters, going strong to the hole was never KP's forte. Plus, do you really see Harvey Weinstein trying to rape Gail Gadot on only one good leg? But what do you think of the Knick prospects this year? It really kills me that, J.R. Smith decided to party with Rihanna that one year. Really thought that we would have made a deep run. Melo got his act together, was playing defense, was no longer such a freaking inhibitor, wasn't such a ISO sucker upper. But like now, then I'm happy for JR. New Jersey bred. Although, did you hear that interview that he did? He did this interview on a hoverboard after they had won in Cleveland. But then moving forward, the head of PR of Cleveland decided to ban JR from topless interviews on top of a hoverboard by stating, JR is high enough already. Holla! Domestic dad bombing. But not so much in this instance when the brother man from Yonkers, now relocated here to northern Westchester County, says, you need to be doing these jokes on stage. So I'm going to thank my brother man for always giving me the desire to thrive. I remember one time I was working as an IT headhunter, and I had my mom who worked for JP Morgan Chase. I had to give me an org chart. White privilege, represent. Still required cold calling. Still required some modicum of skill. Still required a lot of balls. Still required a major tolerance for bullshit and being treated like an indentured fucking servant, monkey, piece of shit underling. Outside of all that, not saying I'm freaking Nelson Mandela over here, but I ended up doing a deal with this guy. No idea he was a brother man. Took him out, Tradition, Campbell Apartment. I have no idea if it's still open. It's in Grand Central. It used to be a speakeasy. He goes, dude, what are you doing these jokes? You should be performing the Apollo. So I want to thank my brother man for constantly encouraging me to go for the kill shot long time all the time, and not just to talk the talk, but to continually build, continually grow, and so I can become a high-profiling stuffer, laugh yanker of the most impressionable, retweet-worthy order. I don't care about the retweet order, but it sounded nice in the end. Holla! For my brother man, because when they laugh, it screams, touchdown! Holla! Bernie Mac lives. Domestic dad bombing no more. Thank you very much. Yesterday, my daughter asked, Daddy, what's your favorite nut? And I point to my lower midsection and say, with emphatic silliness, Wolf Frazier lives. And I say, these nuts. My daughter, Matilda, Singing Rose, Shoshana Cornblood, Deltoid Strong, 10 Homer Daily. Laughs out loud on the spot. Shockwaves of infinite, tingly delight pierced me whole. It was a beautiful, hilarious father-daughter moment, which doesn't translate to dollars and cents just yet. Nonetheless, at this moment, I didn't feel like a downward deplorable, but more like a comedy shooting star on the rise. You can only hope to contain him, folks. More Albert lives. Because my genius comedy star daughter stems from my do-it-all dad year tree trunk, and great comedic minds think alike. Domestic dad bombing. No more, no more. Holla. Aerosmith lives. Thank you very much.